Hey, what is going on, guys? Back again with another video talking about The Last of Us. I know some of you guys may have been expecting me to cover The Last of Us Day a week ago, but ultimately I decided not to since there wasn't a lot of cover besides, merchandise and a pre-recorded Troy Baker performance on the day. But without further ado, let's just jump back into it about today's biggest scoop regarding The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. So some of you may or may not have heard that there has been some rumors for some time now of there being a Last of Us Part 2 Remastered or a PS5 version in the works. Many insiders have even mentioned of its existence happening alongside the first Last of Us game getting a remake, which actually did happen, with The Last of Us Part 1 in 2022. After some time in June of this year, in a Spanish interview, The Last of Us composer Gustavo Santaolalla gave hints of there being a new edition of The Last of Us Part 2. That allowed players to make his NPC character that you come across in the beginning of the game to play certain themes, but he just couldn't say more after that. Now, after some time, that was all we had to go with, since the rumor started with a few insiders mentioning about it, of its existence, and the composer seemingly teasing more to come for Last of Us Part 2. But just as a day ago, this is probably the biggest scoop confirmation that a Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is in the works. So Twitter user going by the name Ila Akavan, sorry if I butchered that by the way, found an Outsources artist's LinkedIn page and discovered their current role at ND. And it goes as listed: responsible for overseeing the production of all outsourced environment art, assets, weapons, and interactive props for two iconic titles, The Last of Us Part 1 and The Last of Us 2 Remastered. Well, if you weren't sure of the existence of it happening, well, it is definitely happening. But to further provide more evidence as well, the outsourced artist who listed this on their LinkedIn page has removed The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered words off their page just a few hours later, pretty much telling us that we probably shouldn't have known about this just yet. Now, with that said, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is likely Naughty Dog's next title to be released sometime next year. We've been expecting it at some point, and now with more proof of its existence, we can only speculate for what's to come in this remastered version. But first and foremost, we can definitely expect Last of Us Part 2 Remastered to offer SSD fast load times, which I'm honestly very happy about since the load times in The Last of Us Part 2 are long on PS4 and still even longer on the patched PS5 version that released 2 years ago. It's ultimately not even the definitive PS5 version of Last of Us Part 2. We can expect the usual new features such as enhanced PS5 visuals, haptic feedbacks, etc., and some minor cleanups with the overall experience on PS5 is what we'll most likely be seeing. What we don't know about The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered if there will be new content to the game. Well, I would like to say that there will be, considering that if I'm going off of Gustavo Santaollalla's comment about allowing players to make him play certain themes in the new edition of Part 2, it's a very vague answer that he gave off, but I'd like to assume the new content will be minor features, and possibly new conversations that you could have with the NPCs or side characters. But I'd like to assume that when it comes to new features, similar to The Last of Us Part 1, we may see alternate character skin swaps between Ellie and Abby, just like you could swap skins between Joel and Ellie in The Last of Us Part 1, or the original Last of Us on PS3 and PS4. We could see added new gameplay modifiers and render modes. We could also see new photo mode features brought from Part 1 into Part 2, like the PC's exclusive eye tracking movement, which allows the player to move the character's eyes at any directions they want, and most likely some newly added accessibility options from Last of Us Part 1 implemented into Last of Us Part 2. These are just some of the many speculations of features that can be added for a Last of Us Part 2 Remastered as considered as new content, because I don't believe The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered will significantly add a lot or change the overall storyline or experience. I don't believe we'll see any new added scenes or new moments that were cut or removed from the game. I'd be surprised about it, but I doubt it. With Last of Us Part 2 Remastered arriving sometime next year, we can fully expect to see a PC release sometime later in 2024, most likely in the fall. We know Sony's strategy to release PlayStation exclusive games on PC is inevitable, and with Last of Us Part 1 on PC now, it's completely no-brainer that Part 2 will make its debut on PC once the remastered PS5 version is officially announced. The PC version may not release alongside the PS5 remastered version, similar to Last of Us Part 1's announcement, releasing the PS5 version first and then the PC version after. I would like to hope that The Last of Us Part 2 on PC has a much more better launch than Part 1 did, because it definitely was not a good time. There was many bugs, frame rate drops, and basically unplayable at the time. It left the PC version of Part 1 with a stained reputation, so I'd like to hope Part 2 gets the well-treated PC port that it deserves once it launches on the platform. Now the question is, we don't know exactly how much this will cost, of course, which has led many people to speculate it could be $70, it could be less, which I'd like to assume with it being a recent current title, it'll most likely have a PS5 upgrade, which will likely be $10. The question is, with newly added content, it could be a bit more, but we just have no idea what it'll add besides the expected PS5 enhancements that it'll come with. I'd like to assume that Naughty Dog will offer a $10 PS5 upgrade offer if you already own The Last of Us Part 2 on PS4. With The Last of Us Part 1 being a complete remake, it made sense why it was $70 at the time. But with the Part 2 Remastered, it's a completely different story. We may see enhanced visuals as mentioned, some new features, but as a new content, it's kind of hard to justify how much the price will be once it gets announced. If you don't own The Last of Us Part 2 on PS4, then you'll likely have to pay full price. If you own it, then most likely it will be a $10 to $15 PS5 upgrade. I'd like to say, but I have no clue. But all I can say is that The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is coming officially sometime next year, because it's already October and I doubt Sony will have anything to announce or release within the end of the year. But alright guys, that is it for this video. I just want to keep you guys updated on more news on The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. I'll keep you guys updated on all that. Anything Naughty Dog related news that comes out. Be sure to like or share the video if you enjoyed. Click the notification bell to stay up to date when I drop a new video. And be sure to follow on the socials, Twitter, X, or as it's called now. But until then, I'll see you guys next time.